In this video, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the 7 WWE releases the other day, where WWE released 7 superstars. RVD becoming the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion this past Monday night on TNA Impact. Samoa Joe returning on the same TNA Impact, and plugging highspots.tv at the end after I give my thoughts on those 3 subjects. First, let me give my thoughts on the 7 releases that happened the other day from WWE. Now, as far as these 7 releases, I think most of them, at least most of them, most people saw these coming, and there were no shocks. Even the 2 main ones that people were, saying the WWE shouldn't release, I think a lot of people saw this coming, with Shelton Benjamin and Mickie James being released, and the other 5, I think everyone definitely saw being released. Now, the 7 superstars that got released are Shelton Benjamin, Mickie James, Katie Lee Burchill, Jimmy Wang Yang, Kung Fu Naki, Slam Master Jay, formerly of Jesse and Festus Tag Team, and Mike Knox. It was originally just 6 superstars that got released, then Mike Knox got added to it, I think another hour or 2 after the 6 superstars were announced that they got released. Now, out of these 7 superstars, I don't think any of these were shocks. I mean, Shelton Benjamin, really surprised me. WWE actually hasn't released him before, or he hasn't requested his release from WWE before this. Mickie James, obviously with the whole Piggy James gimmick, and not only that, she wants to do a little side project with her doing a country album. That was another reason why WWE released her, and apparently the straw that broke the camel's back with the release of Mickie James was due to the recent European tours. I guess there were 1 or 2 incidents where she arrived late on one of the buses, and that was kind of like the last thing, the straw that broke the camel's back, and made WWE just release her. So out of these 7, the 2 I want TNA to definitely sign is Shelton Benjamin. Hopefully, if TNA does sign Shelton Benjamin, they don't push him straight to the main event or something like that, because I think Shelton Benjamin is a very talented wrestler. But as far as WWE, I kind of understand why they didn't really utilize him and use him to his full potential, because you got to understand WWE as a business, they really care more about someone that could be great on the mic, has a personality, is very charismatic, and can get over with the crowd, and really could care less how great the person is in the ring. Because Shelton Benjamin, if you just look at, and count only his in-ring wrestling style, I mean, Shelton Benjamin was one of the best guys within WWE, and based on his wrestling ability, should have been given an opportunity to be, a contender for the World Heavyweight Championship, or maybe even a World Heavyweight Championship run at least one time, and given an opportunity with it and see how it would have ran. But knowing the way, WWE is, I understand why they didn't use him, because he's not good on the mic or anything like that, and he doesn't really have a personality, he isn't charismatic, he's just good in the ring, that's all he is. And with that, he could work much better in a company like TNA, or I wouldn't even mind him being in Ring of Honor. I wouldn't mind him working a couple Ring of Honor shows, then after that, then going to TNA. But I expect TNA to sign Shelton Benjamin. Maybe we'll even see a reunion of the World's Greatest Tag Team with Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin teaming up in TNA. I'd like to see TNA sign both of them and have them team up. Then Shelton Benjamin, I'd like to see him do some stuff within the X Division as well. Mickie James, I want TNA definitely sign Mickie James, but with Mickie James doing her country album right now, that's probably what her main focus is right now, is not wrestling at this point. So with that, I don't know if TNA would be able to sign her, within 3 months after her non-compete clause ends with her release right here. But knowing TNA, they'll probably do something where they allow her to do the side project of the country album and allow her to work TNA at the same time, just so they can get her, which I think she would be a good addition for the Knockouts division. Katie Lee Burchill, I think she's one women's wrestler that should have been used a whole lot better in WWE, because I think she actually had talent and had the potential to do something good within the women's division in WWE. And she isn't the typical WWE diva. I mean, she's not the, blonde Barbie, that type of look for the WWE divas. And she actually had a different look to herself. And I think she could do good with the TNA Knockouts division. I wouldn't be upset if TNA signs her. Now, the other 4, I could kind of deal without TNA signing. Jimmy Wang Yang, I won't be too upset if TNA signs, because they could, just throw someone else within the X Division and just have him, kind of showcase himself in the X Division. That's it. As far as the other 3, I don't think anyone wants any organization to pick them up. First being Mike Knox. Mike Knox is one guy that really surprised me. He hasn't been released before this, and surprising that it took this long for him to get released. Khan Funaki, formerly Funaki. You got to understand with him, it's really shocking he lasted so long within WWE. I mean, counting his kind tie stuff within the WWE Attitude Era, I think he's been somewhat under contract or within WWE for the most part for at least 12 or 13 years. So that's someone that lasted that long, and really surprised me he lasted that long within WWE, and this release didn't happen before. And I don't think he's been released before. He might have been, injured or off of TV for, a year or two or something like that before. But for the most part, he's been with WWE ever since the Attitude Era of either, late 96, 97. He's been doing something with WWE from time to time on television. So that's someone that's been there for that long time, and I think people were surprised it took this long for him to get released. Now, Slam Master Jay, formerly Jesse of Jesse and Festus, obviously after they broke up the Jesse and Festus tag team, I think a lot of people saw this coming with them releasing Jesse of Jesse and Festus, and the Slam Master Jay gimmick didn't really get over. It was something that worked for a little bit, but really couldn't do much with that type of gimmick. And not only that, don't be surprised with the the breakup of Crime Time. Don't be surprised if WWE keeps Shad Gaspar, then releases JTG at some time down the line, because as talented as JTG is, and seems like he could be, and good mid-card wrestler, I wouldn't be surprised if WWE releases him at some point down the line. And during this time of year, you see a number of releases from WWE. So these 7 superstars that got released the other day, this might just be the start of it, and there might be other superstars that get released down the line, because there's another number of wrestlers that are probably kind of lost in the shuffles that probably get released at some point, within a couple weeks or so. That don't be surprised if this is just the start of it, like I said. Now, let me get on my thoughts on RVD becoming the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. As far as my thoughts on it, I'm not completely 100% for it, and I'm not completely 100% against it. I kind of have mixed feelings with it, only due to the fact that my main gripe with it, my hugest problem with it, is that I think they should have waited for a pay-per-view to do the RVD versus AJ Styles match, considering that's a dream match, and that's a match right there that I'm pretty sure if you would have put that on any pay-per-view, even a pay-per-view that's not one of your big 3 pay-per-views of either Lockdown, Slammiversary, or Bound for Glory, it would sell and it would increase your buy rates if you have that as the main event of the pay-per-view, since I know a lot of fans would go out their way to see that match. Now, their match they did on TNA Impact. It was a good TV match. Obviously, you could tell they held back, and maybe we'll see a rematch between the two at the Sacrifice pay-per-view one-on-one with AJ Styles versus RVD for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, or maybe see a 3-way with Jeff Hardy involved. I wouldn't be surprised if they turned it into a 3-way with Jeff Hardy being involved as well. And earlier in the evening on TNA Impact, you had Jeff Hardy versus RVD at number 1 contenders match, which RVD won that, then took on AJ Styles later on the evening and defeated AJ Styles in the main event of TNA Impact for the World Heavyweight Championship. Like I said, not completely 100% behind it or completely 100% against it. And I don't really have a huge problem with them. Only gripe is I think they should have built it up a little better. And not only that, saved it for a pay-per-view, because it would have been a great pay-per-view moment. RVD won the World Heavyweight Championship at a pay-per-view, defeating AJ Styles. And not only that, it's a dream match that, could have easily got a number of buy rates and increase your buy rates for the pay-per-view, and it would have been something great to save for the pay-per-view. But nonetheless, I didn't have too much of a problem with it, and don't have any problem with RVD being the World Heavyweight Champion. And at least before this, AJ Styles had a good title reign. He won the belt in September of last year and actually had a 7-month title run and just lost the title this past Monday night on Impact. So he had a good title reign before he lost it. That's the good thing right there. And, they did a good job with AJ Styles' title reign. So, at least they had him have a 7-month title run before RVD defeated him, and this wasn't something where, AJ had, the title for only 3 weeks and then RVD defeated him. That would have been terrible. But AJ Styles had a pretty lengthy title reign, and it's probably the second longest TNA title reign, because I know TNA on TV, they're saying AJ Styles' 7th-month title reign is the longest TNA title reign within TNA history, which I guess TNA is counting only since they've had the TNA World Heavyweight Championship and not the NWA title as well within their organization. So in that case, they're right. But as far as TNA history, obviously everyone knows Jeff Jarrett is the longest reigning TNA champion. I think Jeff Jarrett had a title reign where he had it, about a year or maybe a little over a year, pretty much close to a year with one of his title reigns before. But I guess TNA is counting only since they've had the official TNA title and not the NWA title as well within their organization. That's why they're saying AJ Styles is the longest TNA title champion in the history of TNA. Then let me get my thoughts on Samoa Joe returning this past Monday night on TNA Impact. Great to see Samoa Joe return back this Monday night on TNA Impact and return looking like his old self and pretty much being the same type of gimmick he was back in 2005, 2006, the unstoppable force, the badass motherfucker that just wanted to go out there and beat the hell out of everyone, which that's the type of character you need to have Samoa Joe be. And with the, Samoa Joe having his old look, having his old ring attire, and not the Nation of Violence stuff, not wearing the pants and stuff like that. Samoa Joe now, if you keep building him up very good and just have him go out there, what I would do if I was TNA, which I'm hoping they do, is have him go out there and just destroy a lot of people, before the Sacrifice pay-per-view. Then have him challenge someone, maybe like a Mr. Anderson or someone, get a victory at the Sacrifice pay-per-view, and then just keep on building them up. And I would like to see them do a Samoa Joe versus RVD match, maybe save it for the Bound for Glory pay-per-view, because that's a dream match as well. That's the great thing about RVD's title reign, that I'm thinking RVD as champion could possibly keep the title for about 4 or 5 months, and I would not have a problem with it, because I think RVD would have a lot of incredible matches on pay-per-view. He would have, classic matches every single month, I'm pretty sure, and you could book him against people that would kind of be like dream matches. You could have him and AJ Styles have a match against each other again, and a pay-per-view match against each other at a pay-per-view obviously would be better than their TNA Impact match, and their match pay-per-view would be given more time, and they'll be able to do more in it. And Samoa Joe and RVD, I really want to see that match really bad, and I wouldn't mind seeing it at Bound for Glory, which I'm kind of hoping they do that, and then maybe have Samoa Joe get his second world title reign within TNA, since TNA did a terrible job with his first world title reign back in 2008, where it took forever for him to finally become world heavyweight champion. And then when they gave him the title, he had a very weak title reign, where he had it for a little while. I mean, he had it for about 6 months. But you would think that, with 6-month title reign, he would have been booked as a very good champion. But no, he wasn't. He was booked as a very weak champion. So hopefully they give Samoa Joe another title reign in the future. They do a better job with it this time around, and make him actually look like an unstoppable force, make him look like, the dominant force within TNA, and have him have a good title reign, which I'm hoping that's what happens there. So great to see Samoa Joe return this past Monday night on Impact. And actually, for a change, this Monday night's Impact this past Monday with the RVD versus Jeff Hardy number one contenders match, seeing Samoa Joe return, and the world title match with AJ Styles and RVD winning the World Heavyweight Championship. I gotta say, for a change, TNA Impact was very, very good this past Monday night on Impact. And pretty much a very entertaining show from top to bottom. Actually, I would say, entertainment-wise, it was probably more entertaining than the pay-per-view they had the night before, just because of some of the things that happened on the TNA Impact. You had 2 good TV matches on there. You had Samoa Joe return, which was great to see as well. Then lastly, let me just plug highspots.tv. Now, Highspots has recently started a video-on-demand service on started a website, highspots.tv, and on this site it's for a monthly subscription, where you can either get a monthly subscription that's $14.99, or you can get a year-long membership and have a full year for $99.99, $100 for a full year, and about $15 for 1 month. And I would say for anyone that's a fan of shoot interviews and stuff of that nature, and they got stuff up there like some original material, a number of PWG matches, indie matches as well, that if you're a fan of any of that type of stuff, I would highly recommend it to you. And the main reason why I gave it a try, I just signed up a couple days ago, and the main reason why I gave it a try was because I wanted to see the Paul London and Brian Kendrick shoot interview, The Excellent Adventures of Paul London and Brian Kendrick, and I would highly recommend that shoot interview for many people. It's a great shoot interview. If you're a fan of Paul London and Brian Kendrick, you will love that shoot interview. Very good stuff within the shoot interview, about 3.5, 4-hour shoot interview. That's the main reason why I gave it a try. Not only that, they have other good stuff on there as well. So I would definitely recommend highspots.tv for any wrestling fan, if you're a fan of shoot interviews and stuff of that nature. And they got stuff from indie companies as well, a number of PWG matches, some women's matches as well. So I would definitely say it's worth checking out. Give it a try. It's only $14.99 a month. If you don't like it, you can cancel it after a month, but I'm pretty sure most people that will give it a try and check it out and subscribe to it, I think most people will like highspots.tv. And not only that, the way that highspots.tv is going to be run, it looks like that every single month there's going to be a number of new shoot interviews added, where all the shoot interviews that they keep on doing, that it's going to be released either right before the DVD comes out or as soon as the DVD comes out, because even the Paul London and Brian Kendrick shoot interview doesn't come out till Tuesday, April 27th, and it's already available to view on highspots.tv. And like I said, I would highly recommend highspots.tv for anyone. Like I said, I just want to come on here and give my thoughts on the WWE releases. Like I said, a couple of the releases that weren't really shocking. I think even all the 7 weren't really shocking, considering they weren't really doing much with Shelton. And Mickie James doesn't surprise me. WWE finally released her. Like I said, out of the 7 that got released, the main ones I want TNA to pick up are obviously Shelton Benjamin and Mickie James without question. Want them to pick them up. Katie Lee Burchill, I won't mind if TNA picks her up. And just, to add someone with the X Division, just have him showcase himself in the X Division. I won't really hate it if they sign Jimmy Wang Yang, because he's actually a pretty talented worker, and I won't mind if TNA signs him. I obviously gave my thoughts on RVD becoming TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Like I said, the only problem I have with it is I wish it would have been built up and saved for the pay-per-view, but as far as RVD being World Heavyweight Champion, don't have any problem with it. I think he could do a great job as TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Wanted to give my thoughts on Samoa Joe returning. Great to see Samoa Joe back as himself. And obviously check out highspots.tv as well. And that's it for this video. Peace. In this video, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the 7 WWE releases the other day, where WWE released 7 superstars. RVD becoming the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion this past Monday night on TNA Impact. Samoa Joe returning on the same TNA Impact, and plugging highspots.tv at the end after I give my thoughts on those 3 subjects. First, let me give my thoughts on the 7 releases that happened the other day from WWE. Shocks. Shelton Benjamin really surprised me. WWE actually hasn't released him before, or he hasn't requested his release from WWE before this. Mickie James, obviously, with the whole Piggy James gimmick, and not only that, she wants to do a little side project with her doing a country album. That was another reason why WWE released her, and apparently the straw that broke the camel's back with the release of Mickie James was due to the recent European tours. I guess there were 1 or 2 incidents where she arrived late on one of the buses, and that was kind of like the last thing, the straw that broke the camel's back, and made WWE just release her. So out of these 7, the 2 I want TNA to definitely sign is Shelton Benjamin. Hopefully, if TNA does sign Shelton Benjamin, they don't push him straight to the main event or something like that, because I think Shelton Benjamin has been Mickie James, Katie Lee Burchill, Jimmy Wang Yang, Kung Fu Naki, Slam Master Jay, formerly of Jesse and Festus Tag Team, and Mike Knox. It was originally just 6 superstars that got released, then Mike Knox got added to it, I think another hour or 2 after the 6 superstars were announced that they got released. Now, out of these 7 superstars, I don't think any of these were E. Now, as far as these 7 releases, I think most of them, at least most of them, most people saw these coming, and there were no shocks. Even the 2 main ones that people were, saying the WWE shouldn't release, I think a lot of people saw this coming, with Shelton Benjamin and Mickie James being released. And the other 5, I think everyone definitely saw being released. Now, the 7 superstars that got released are Shelton Benjamin,